Got some interesting things to talk about. We've got some interesting things to talk about today. So, I've been sick the last week. I'm not 100%, but I am much better. Um, so, really, I'm merging two stream ideas that I had for this week that I would have done earlier this week, but I'm streaming both ideas together today. So, don't mind me. I have to hydrate a lot, and I'm a little wheezy, but I'm here. I'm good. I'm back. So there's two things that I wanted to talk about today. Let's see. I want to start with the connection between the Cybertruck Trump explosion that happened New Year's Day in, I think it was 2025, right before Trump started his second term. Something that got super swept under the rug. And when you look back at that story, you can see some connections to what's happening with the scientists and everything that's going on over there with all these missing and dead scientists, the programs that they were working on, also the missing and dead scientists in China. And I think there's a potential connection. Now, I still very much feel like we don't know the full scope of this conspiracy, right? But we know that something's fishy. There's a million different directions this could go. And I think before we can ever determine that, we're going to really have to understand just what we have before us, right? What's connected, potentially connected? What is the story here? At this point, we know that there's potentially a story, but we don't have enough yet to know what the story is. And I am no journalist at all. I'm just a pretty curious guy who likes to talk and talk shit. And that's all I'm doing here is I'm just putting things together. I'm using the skills that I have to maybe put a little bit of perspective out there that people aren't putting together quite yet. That's why I made the website. The website doesn't actually take a position as to what the conspiracy is or if there even is one. It's just saying, hey, here's all the information that people are looking at. Here's other information that people might not be looking at. And here are the connections as we can find them with publicly available information. That is what whokilledthescientists.com is all about. We're not necessarily trying to figure this out. We're just saying here's the one spot, the one place. I said I'm just saying here's the one place that you can go that has everything that can be found around this in one place with all of the sources so you can check them out yourself. And I'm building that more robust every day. Now, I also said that there was a second thing that I wanted to discuss today, and that is I think some of the people on this list, some people say it's 10 scientists, some say it's upwards of even 15 or 16. I think there's a case for maybe 2 to 4 of these people that probably aren't attached to this. And I think there's an even stronger case for 2 to 4 people that should absolutely be on this list because of their direct connections. And yeah, and that's part of what I'm doing on the website. And that's what I want to talk about today. So we'll talk about Matthew Livelsberg and the Trump Tower Cybertruck explosion. And we'll talk about these people that I think should be on the list. I will try to make this sort of brief, or as brief as I can make it, because the Celtics are playing in a game 7, and that actually starts pretty soon. I don't mind missing a little bit of the game, though, because I was committed to doing this today. So let's get into it. This is an iconic image, at least to me. This is an iconic image. I think this will go in the history books, or at least it could. And if you were living under a rock, you probably know what this image is. And this was the Cybertruck explosion, Matthew Livelsberger, January 1st, 2025, a few weeks before Trump took office. And it is a very wild case. Now, I could do another stream about this case because there is a lot of questions to be had. And the purpose of this isn't really to go over this case, but I do want to show some of the connections. And some of these connections might be questionable. What up, Trevor? And what up, Rory? We got some people up in here. Holy shit. Look at that. This is only technically really my second or third Twitch stream. And to have 5 or 6 people in here, that's pretty fucking cool. So hell yeah. Apple juice. That's what I'm here to do, man. I'm here to give you things to think about, to do. So, if you don't know, I'll bring you up to speed. Essentially a Green Beret had allegedly shot himself in a Cybertruck and either did it right outside of this Trump Tower in Las Vegas, or allegedly shot himself while the car drove itself to this location to then explode. And again, like I said, we could go through an entire live stream picking this apart. But I just want to give you the Cliff's Notes version of this. And that is, this person had a manifesto. He had reached out to other special forces people. He tried very hard to get a letter to Sean Ryan. He wound up getting the letter to Sean Ryan. Sean didn't see it until I think the day after this incident, because another special forces guy that had gotten a letter as well was instructed to, contact Sean Ryan. Sean had him on the show. They went over all this. You could go watch that video. It's pretty interesting. And I must say, I really like Sean Ryan's show. And I think there's a lot of people who are a little weary of him because, he'd worked CIA. Me personally, like I said, I love his show. I take everything any ex-CIA person says with a grain of salt. But I also think that for him, he was more of like, like a brute force kind of guy, right? Like he was like a soldier, right, who then went into the CIA and did some work with them, but I think he was more there to carry a gun and intimidate than he was in, communications and espionage and all that sort of stuff. So again, take everything with a grain of salt. I'm sort of, like I said, I still take everything he says with a grain of salt, but I really like the guy. I actually really love his content. And when he and this other special forces guy talked about it, it seemed pretty genuine. So, there's a lot of controversy also around this email and these other things. Again, I really, really, I don't know. But what I can say definitively is that the things that he had talked about in this letter and in this manifesto align with this potential conspiracy around the scientists. So let's go over that. So if you've ever been to whokilledthescientist.com, you will see there's a tab called coincidences. That is intentional coincidences. All right. And so these are events that cannot be confirmed as connected to the deaths and the disappearances of defense scientists, but they intersect in ways that are difficult to ignore. So I just want you guys to understand exactly what I mean by coincidences. Okay. It's kind of like Candace Owens says, like, we don't know, but we know, right? And you'll see there are quite a lot of coincidences that I have here graded by tier. And right here at the top of tier 1, which is the strongest connections. Excuse me. Is Matthew Livelsberger and this Cybertruck explosion. Green Beret Master Sergeant, 10th Special Forces Group, okay, with the TS SCI clearance. That's very high clearance. That is a fucking badass, okay? A Green Beret Master Sergeant, that is a certified fucking badass, okay? He has 5 Bronze Stars, a Combat Valor awards, okay? Now, he detonated a Tesla Cybertruck outside of Trump International Hotel. His manifesto claimed the US and China, and this is very important, the US and China both have operational anti-gravity aircraft, that Area 51 houses the American program, and that the New Jersey drone sightings were Chinese gravitic propulsion systems. Okay, so if you remember, that was, I believe, summer into fall of 2024. There were a number of different things. There were these Chinese spy weather balloons, and there were these drone sightings over New York and New Jersey. And he claimed that that was the Chinese flexing their weaponry as kind of like a weapon or a warning to the United States. And we have dead and missing scientists before this, Amy Eskridge, who worked in anti-gravity. And kind of the whole conspiracy is that there were people working on these different things, like these advanced propulsion, anti-gravity systems, special alloys that allow us to go to space. And so you can't look at this and say that this isn't in some way connected, right? He called these anti-gravity systems the most dangerous threat to national security that has ever existed and warned of a World War III. The DoD classified the manifesto just 8 days after he blew up the Cybertruck outside of Trump Tower and allegedly shot himself in the head while self-driving his cyber Tesla truck that was packed full of explosives and I believe like firecrackers and fireworks and stuff like that. Right? Made a real spectacle. Okay. So the DoD at that time took over the investigation, and pretty much that was the end of it. Everything got memory hold. Trump took office, and the DoD became the Department of War, and we started World War III. The very thing he was warning us about. Okay. So the story exited the news cycle within days. He also alleged a cover up of civilian casualties from a 2019 Afghanistan airstrike in the Nimruz province, claims partially corroborated by UNAMA documenting 89 civilian deaths. Okay, so as this card on the website says, the intersection is the technologies that Livelsberger described: anti-gravity propulsion, advanced aerospace craft, US-China dual programs. They are precisely the fields the dead and missing scientists worked in. His manifesto was classified as a national security matter. Within the following year, scientists working in the exact technologies began dying and disappearing. Actually, that same year. And not just in the United States, but also in China. Rory, his manifesto was classified because authorities say it divulges classified information. Well, classified or not, I mean, it's all on the internet. Internet's forever. And I have them. And so, yeah. I just want to take a little second here, talk to the Twitch homies, all the Team Human guys and gals. Thanks for coming over. You know, Trevor is the man. Uh, I've been talking with Trevor for a few months now. He's been awesome, you know, promoting Buyer, promoting Web, actually using these products. You know, and he promotes it because he actually genuinely uses the products. And, you know, as you can see, like, this is the beginning. This is the start, right? I literally just started live streaming last week. So we're early, we're on time. Um, but, you know, super thanks to all the Team Human people. Check me out. Check out the website. Check out Web, Buyer, all that. This is what I do all day long. And now, you know, I'm getting to a point with both Web and Buyer that I can come in and start doing content because I actually want to start doing content. And on that, I just want to kind of say too that, you know, obviously a lot of people know me because of the work that I do with Ian. And do not think that what I'm trying to do is like do Ian's type of stuff, right? That's not at all what I'm doing. Um, in fact, I have no interest in really talking about politics and things of that nature any further than it like intersects with what I like to call like fun conspiracies. And this kind of is that, right? I love like UFO UAP stuff, reptilian humanoids, giants, you know, all that kind of fun stuff, right? Like I actually would rather try to be like, oh, second. Yeah, you're not Ian, so it's good. Don't expect that. Thanks. Yeah. So again, my kind of focus is more about like fun conspiracy type stuff. Stuff that like maybe we can't like prove, but we can have fun. Right. And this sort of intersects with like real politics and real stuff because there's like undeniably cover-ups that are happening. Right. And so let's get back to it. So the other thing that he was talking about was not just the US version of these programs, he also talked about China. And if you have been paying attention to this scientist story, on the side, on the fringe, there's also a Chinese connection, which I've outlined in pretty good detail here on the website. And so, to bring you kind of up to speed, China has the same exact thing going on right now. Now, there are also other countries. My friend Rory here, uh, he and I talk about also Russia. There are other countries. There are definitely so many other things out there. Um, and I'm actually going to be doing some live streams with Rory here soon to kind of go over some of that stuff. And as we kind of go through it, maybe I'll create more pages if there's compelling enough evidence of connection, right? But for now, I feel very confident in China. So, not going to go deep into the China thing, but give you a little synopsis here. While the FBI investigates the 11 plus American cases, at least 9 Chinese scientists working in sensitive defense fields have also died under unusual circumstances since 2018. So the American, the earliest one is 2022, Amy Eskridge. I actually think that there's a case for somebody as far back as 2014 that has died who was very connected to the people in the American side. But we really don't know, right? Even like tracing back, like where the whole theory had even come from, it started from dark journalists sort of understanding that there was maybe these connections and then started bringing in connections, and then it kind of snowballed out from there. And then actual legitimate uh, publications started talking about it. New York Times, the narrative tellers, right? And now it's part of the narrative in some way, right? And by that I mean it's a part of, um, mainstream media is talking about it, right? So anyway, the fields overlap: military AI, hypersonic weapons, space defense, drone warfare, and nuclear adjacent research. China's embassy says it is not aware of the situation. No official investigation has been announced. And if you don't know, China doesn't operate like the United States. The United States will pretend and tell you that they're going to look into something and then they'll never talk about it again. China just won't even do that because they're like, fuck you. But there's 9 cases, potentially more, obviously. And we won't go through all of these different people. But there is another interesting connection, and that is Fang Dining and General McCaslin. Their connection is China's top hypersonics scientist died the same exact day that McCaslin died, right? Who was America's most senior missing person. He was the most integrated to the systems, or to all of the different programs around, potential UFO, UAP, anti-gravity, like all this type of stuff, right? Um, and And then there was another thing. Oh, and then another person, Yan Hong, worked at Wright State University in Ohio before returning to China. Now, Wright State University is connected to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So he was actually in Ohio working around the same people as Wright-Patterson. That's just a potential connection. That's not like, blockbuster, like, if you see here, it's not strongest, it's under notable, but there is something there, right? Now, there's plenty of other things to go in on the China thing. I'm not going to go into that right now. I implore you, go to whokilledthescientist.com to read about this yourself. It is quite an interesting rabbit hole, especially when you start connecting it and looking at the patterns with the American case. But he talked about, let me pull up the card here. He talked about the United States and China having these types of weapons and military sort of systems, and who knows exactly how deep and dirty that goes. But there is a connection there, right? And if you've never seen this before, I'm going to play this for you. That was the explosion.
Copy.
See all the fireworks going off? It was absolutely crazy. Caught on close cameras, multiple angles. Nobody has an idea whether or not he actually killed himself. I mean, blew his head off with a deagle, a Desert Eagle. That's a 50 cal handgun. That is literally the most powerful handgun on the planet. You shoot yourself in the head with that, like the whole top third of your body is like evaporating. Not really, but it's really bad. And they say it was autonomous driving. I don't know. Your eyes in these Teslas have to be on the road. Your hand needs, at least one hand needs to be touching the steering wheel. I don't know. Doesn't sound right to me. And so I can tell you about it, but let's kind of look and read what he actually said. I believe this was the email to Sean Ryan. Now, as you look at it, there are definitely some questions and there's potentially some answers. Most notably, if you see here, these red lines, these are, if you've ever typed on anything, these are to let you know they're spell check, right? They're to say, oh, this is misspelled or a not recognized word. There's also this yellow cursor over here. So it looks like an email, but it also looks like it's in an editor of sorts. So there are definitely people that are, questioning it, but this was released by the alleged, I forget the guy's name, but he was another special forces guy that he was reached out to, and that he was the guy who talked to Sean Ryan. Sean Ryan then found this email. Anyway, lots of crazy stuff in this one. So let's read it. Okay. Tuesday, December 31st, 2024. So this was the day before. So this was about 20 hours before the incident. Okay. In case I do not make it to my decision point or on to the Mexico border, I am sending this now. Please do not release this until 1 Jan and keep my identity private until then. First off, I am not under duress or hostile influence or control. My first car was a 2006 black Ford Mustang V6 for verification. What we have been seeing with drones in the operational use of gravitic propulsion systems powered aircraft by most recently China in the East Coast, but throughout history, the US, Only we in China have this capability. Our OPSEN location for this activity is in the box below. In the box is below? In the box below. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. China has been launching them from the Atlantic from submarines for years, but this activity recently has picked up. As of now, it is just a show of force, and they are using it similar to how they used the balloon for Signet and ISR, which are also part of the integrated comms system. There are dozens of these balloons in the air at any given time. If anybody remembers I believe it was like late summer of 2024, there was this whole hullabaloo about these Chinese weather balloons that were, supposedly spy balloons. So this is weird. So what? So what is because of the speed and stealth of these unmanned AC aircraft? They are the most dangerous threat to national security that has ever existed. They basically have an unlimited payload capacity and can park it over the White House if they wanted. It's checkmate. USG needs to give the history of this, how we are employing it and weaponizing it, how China is employing them, and what the way forward is. China is poised to attack anywhere in the East Coast. I've been followed for over a week now from likely Homeland or FBI, and they are looking to move on me and are unlikely going to let me cross into Mexico, but won't because they know I am armed and I have a massive VBID, which is I forget what that acronym means, but it's essentially a bomb in the car. It's like a vehicle um vehicle something like improvised explosive device. I forget what the B is, but the V is for vehicle, so it's a VBID. I have been trying to maintain a very visible profile and have kept my phone, and they are definitely digitally tracking me. I have knowledge of this program and also war crimes that were covered up during airstrikes in Nimruz province, Afghanistan in 2019 by the admin, DOD, DEA, and CIA. I conducted targeting for these strikes of over 125 buildings. 65 were struck because of civcas that killed hundreds of civilians in a single day. U.S. FORA continued strikes after spotting civilians on initial ISR. It was supposed to take 6 minutes and scramble all aircraft in CENTCOM. The UN basically called these war crimes, but the administration made them disappear. I was part of that cover up with US FORA and Agent Blank of the DEA. So I don't know if my abduction attempt is related to either. I worked with General Miller IO staff on this, as well as the response to Bala Murghab, AOBS commander at the time. Blank can validate this. You need to elevate this to the media so we avoid a world war, because this is a mutually assured destruction situation. For vetting my LinkedIn is Matt Berg or Matthew Livelsberger, so and so. And I actually have his LinkedIn right here. And this is him. This is Matt Livelsberger, Operations Director, Intelligence Manager, Remote Autonomous System, SUAS, Special Forces Green Beret. So he's Green Beret, but he was also working with intelligence. So that also means take it all with a grain of salt. Could be a psyop. You never know, though. And if you look at his experience, spent 19 years and 1 month with the Army. Went through all the way to Green Beret. Special Forces Intelligence and Operations Specialist for 7 years. Special Forces Operations Manager, Team Sergeant. Remote And for the last 3 months of what he did, remote and autonomous systems manager. Not sure what that means, but that sounds to me like he was involved in technology and operations for one of the most elite uh, special forces teams in the United States. Now, I am not an expert on the military. I did grow up in a military family, but it was Navy, um, and it was in Navy and firefighting, a naval firefighting family. I don't know special forces stuff like that. And there are plenty of special forces people who have done content around this around the time for like maybe a week or two. Apple Juice, Navy family, yeah, what's up? Yeah, my grandfather. Um, it's he's kind of like my step grandfather, I guess. His family actually started the first Philadelphia fire department, so I grew up um, in a firefighting family, and then my grandfather was in the Navy for 25 years, and he in the last, I don't know, 10 to 15 years that he was in the Navy, he was a naval firefighter instructor out of Philadelphia. And so as a kid, I actually used to go to base. We spent a lot of time on base, but he would take me as a kid um, onto base on like a Saturday, and they had a house that was just like on this like lot basically, and they would just light it on fire continuously, and they would run trainings. And so yeah, I mean, but that's like the extent of like what we did. It for I don't it was in Philadelphia. I was really young. I mean, I was probably going there up until I was maybe 10, and that was like 8,000 years ago. So I don't really remember. But we used to go to like a lot of like the bases in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Um, yeah, but anyway, definitely don't have a deep understanding of um, you know special forces stuff and intelligence stuff. Like I leave that to the professionals. I only know what they talk about, and I always kind of take what they talk about with a grain of salt because you never know, especially these people who were tied to intelligence like he was. Um, that always gives a little bit of psyop. Even like I said earlier about Sean Ryan, I really love his content. I think that he's pretty on the up and up, but you kind of always have to have like a little side of going like, are you being legit? Are you a psyop? Apple juice. Same with us. We lived in Jersey and was at the Joint Base McGuire Lee Dix. That sounds very familiar to me. Brit, my live stream is spotty. Um, it's really interesting. Um, it seems to be looking fine. It actually looks even better on Twitch than on YouTube, but maybe YouTube might be better for you. And it's just the same name. Kevin is a human. Um, so hopefully that works out, and I'll dial this in. But you guys are all here early, and I appreciate you all. And so, kind of like one last little thing I wanted to go over. Um, this was I believe this was the manifesto. Fellow service members, veterans, and all Americans, it's time to wake up. We are being led by weak and feckless leadership who only serve to enrich themselves. Military and vets move on DC starting now. Militias facilitate and augment this activity. Occupy every major road along federal buildings and the campus of Fed buildings by the hundreds of thousands. Lock the highways around, down with semis right after everybody gets in. Hold until the purge is complete. Try peaceful means first, but be prepared to fight to get the Dems out of the Fed government and military by any means necessary. They all must go, and a hard reset must occur for our country to avoid collapse. MSG Matt Livelsberg, 18th Z, 10th Special Forces Group. He was calling for a coup. Now, what I will say is I saw this interesting video. It just made me think about this video that I saw where this person claimed that their conspiracy theory was that part of the reason why we don't take care of our veterans, why the VA system is such a mess, why they find it so hard to adjust when they come home. It's not just about what they experienced over there, but because they come home to a country that in some places maybe they feel hatred, things of that nature. And some of them do talk about hatred when they come from like blue areas where people are generally more, peace loving, anti war, right? And this person's conspiracy theory was that the reason why they've made these conditions so horrible for um, our veterans is because they are trained, they're coordinated, they know how to manage. And if there were, say, some sort of uprising from the American people, they would be great assets for us against them. So seeing something like this person is calling for how you do it. And they know that there are a lot of people who are fed up in the United States. Now, we got to remember that this was at the end of Biden's term. He was very clearly, a conservative. If I remember correctly, he was very pro-Trump. I think even in a way was trying to get Trump's attention in this, thinking that Trump was going to right the ship when he became president for the second term, which we all know is definitely not what happened. Oh, what up, Baze? I'm just seeing you now, bro. Thank you for being here, brother. I'm really stoked. Me and Baze are going to do a live stream like Tuesday or Wednesday, early next week. Really stoked. You guys should check that out. There is a second page. We are the United States of America, the best country people to ever exist. But right now, we are terminally ill and headed towards collapse. We are crumbling because of a lack of self-respect, morals, and respect for others. Greed and gluttony has consumed us. The top 1% decided long ago they weren't going to bring everyone else with them. You are cattle to them. Is there another term for cattle that people who think they're superior to the rest of us use? I think it's called like goyim. Yeah. We have strayed from family values and corrupted our minds, and I am a prime example of having it all, but it never being enough. A lot of us are just sitting around waiting to die. No sunlight, no steps, no fresh air, no hope. Our children are addicted to screens by the age of 2. We are filling our bodies with processed foods. Our population is too fat to join the military, yet we are facing a war with China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran before 2030. I mean, let the man cook. I mean, he's kind of, just saying. I'm a bad goyim. You know what? I'm a bad goyim too. They do not like me. We must take these actions if we are going to make it past the next few years in one piece. We must end the war in Ukraine with negotiated settlement. It is the only way. Focus on strength and winning. Masculinity is good and men must be leaders. Strength is a deterrent and fear is the product. weeded out those in government and military who do not idealize number two. I'm assuming Second Amendment. The income inequality in this country and cost of living is outrageous. The number of homeless on our street is embarrassing and disgusting. Having some pride and take care of, or have some pride and take care of this. Stop obsessing over diversity. We are all diverse, and DEI is a cancer. Thankfully, we rejected the DEI candidate and will have a real president instead of Weekend at Bernie's. So, I mean, this is, this is the person, and this is this person's speech. I'm just speaking the words that he put into his manifesto. This is not necessarily how I think personally. Um, some stuff I do agree with, though. We must move on from the culture of weakness and self enrichment perpetuated by our senior political and military leaders. We are done with the blatant corruption. Our soldiers are done fighting wars without end states or clear objectives. This was not a terrorist attack. It was a wake up call, meaning his attack. Okay. He keeps referring to it as a wake up call. Americans only pay attention to spectacles and violence. What better way to get my point across than a stunt with fireworks and explosives? Now, remember, in the email that he had sent, he had talked about going to Mexico, talked about his next objective, or his next place. So I don't feel like it was in the cards to blow his head off with a deagle. Um, I don't know. There's something fishy about it, but I think these letters might be legit, right? Um, I think they're legit. I do, or at least mostly legit. Why did I personally do it now? I needed to cleanse my mind of the brothers I've lost and relieve myself of the burden of the lives I've took. Consider this last sunset of 24 and my actions the end of our sickness and a new chapter of health for our people. Rally around the Trump, Musk, Kennedy, and ride the wave to the highest hegemony for Americans. We are second to none. And I think of that and I think to myself, my man, you are lucky that you're not around to see how this actually played out with Trump, Musk, Kennedy, and all the bullshit that's gone on for the last year and however many months. I mean, Mans would be sick if he saw the current state of things. And so I think there's something weird about this, because there were other people that he had also reached out to. There were all other special forces people. So kind of going like, hey, like, we're all cut from the same kind of cloth, even if we're not, the same division of special forces. We're up here. We exist in this zone. There's a brotherhood of sorts. And he reached out to multiple and was trying to get in with Sean Ryan, because Sean Ryan has a massive platform. And and Sean wound up platforming this entire message. Again, urge you to go watch those videos. They're from January of 2025, early January, probably I think January 3rd, something like that. And I think the guy he spoke to was Shoemate. That's the other special forces guy who came in, and there's a lot there. And yeah, I think it's interesting. It's just an interesting thing to look at, because I think there's a connection. I think that this is a guy who, for all the ways that I may not have agreed with what he said, or think that he may have been a little wrong about something here or there. Really all insignificant. I think at the end of the day, he may have known something because if there is a conspiracy around the scientists, then this is not something new. This is kind of a long game situation, right? And these are the types of things that people a decade later would kind of figure out and piece together. And by then it's too late. We have the internet now. We have people that are increasingly not trusting narrative. We have people who are every day losing faith in our institutions, in our government, the narratives that they spin, the truths that they claim to tell. And people are noticing. They're noticing. And they're noticing a lot of different things. A lot of different things. So, these people, how many of them are actually involved in this conspiracy? Is there a conspiracy? What is the conspiracy? Who is perpetuating this? I don't know. I do not know. But I think we need more eyes on it. We need more people to notice. Like I said, the noticing is happening. We need more people to notice things. Okay? We need more. Now I'm going to pull up a video that I actually saw this morning because I think it's actually a really great segue to my next topic that I want to talk about. And while I pull this up, tell me in the chat, do you think I'm grasping at straws here? Do you think that there's maybe something there's something here? Because I don't know. Am I just like kind of talking out of my ass? Apple Juice says there's definitely something, someone's cleaning up house. Yeah, I agree. I mean, do you think maybe they're all sort of involved, or maybe we caught some strays? You know? I don't know. I'm just trying to find this clip that I saw this morning because it was really great, but where is it? Sean Ryan and so Sean Ryan and Shank. Yes, here we go. Shank from
GoDaddy is the daddy of domains.
Oh, I'm on the wrong account.
GoDaddy is the daddy of domains.
Sorry for the ad, guys.
Domains. GoDaddy.
On my other account.
This week alone, 11 American scientists.
But they talk here about this conspiracy. And Shank, if you know, he's from the Young Turks. He is a very big lefty. And if you guys know me, I am neither left nor right. I'm probably closer to libertarian, and even that entire party has failed me. Failed our people. But I also don't get caught up in like the credibility of somebody if they are left or right, depending on, if they're on the right, like, or, they're not like pedophiles. And if they're on the left, they're not like deranged blue hairs, right? Like, I don't treat people that way. I come from a generation that we didn't really give a fuck what anybody's political affiliation was because it didn't really matter that much. Are you a good person? Are you an asshole to me? Are you nice? Let's see. Yeah, his whole situation is hella sus. Being found post-explosion with the 50 cal bullet to the head sounds like wet work to me. The whole story screams controlled narrative to me. Something's up with it. Rory, I agree. There's, again, like, I think a lot of us, especially just through the last, let's say, decade to two decades of exposure to a myriad of corruption and psyops and massive, earth-shattering events. We sort of have the exposure to like sniff out bullshit narrative. And I think more people don't even realize that they subconsciously have figured out that they have a bullshit detector. And so these psyops, they're getting a little hard to keep up. They're losing their luster. Okay.
This week alone, 11 American scientists are dead or missing.
And we're not going to watch the whole thing.
One dead
Just a
or
few
missing
minutes.
scientist, that's a mystery. 2 might be a coincidence. But 11? How do you take that?
Most tied to nuclear, aerospace, or UFO research. The FBI just confirmed Monday they're investigating.
Well, I hope it's random, but we're going to know in the next week and a half. I just left a meeting on that subject, so pretty serious stuff.
I got one more thing. It's a hot question. Something totally different than what we've been chatting about here.
As you're getting that, Sean,
Yeah.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me here. And thanks for having conversations like this, not just this, but like this, to the Ro Connors, to whoever else is willing to show up. Because it takes courage, man.
I love doing it. I mean, I've had tons of people on here that think not exactly like me, but very similar. And those conversations get fucking boring really fast because you're just in an echo chamber. So I want to talk to people that disagree with me, that have different ideas. And I think that's how you find real solutions. And not very many people are doing it, but it's growing. And so thank you for coming.
Yeah,
Seriously.
absolutely. Happy to do it.
Seriously.
Happy to have you on the Young Turks if you'd like. And
I'd love to do it.
Well, I gotta say, more of that, please. More of that. Becky said divide and conquer, and that's absolutely it. I mean, we know this, right? This is like Art of War, Sun Tzu shit, right? And this is why if you go to any of my social media, you'll see one of the first things it always says is I'm anti-ideology. I don't give a fuck who you voted for. I don't care if you voted 3 times for somebody I would never, ever, ever in my fucking life ever consider ever voting for. That doesn't mean you're a piece of shit. It doesn't mean that I discount you. Right? And so I talk to people all the time who hold way different opposing views. In fact, I have always talked to people with opposing views, and I think that one of the strengths that I have is the perspective I get from talking to people who think nothing like me. And then try to do my part to find common ground with them. Because Everybody's getting all worked up about left versus right. Left versus right. Oh, you're a lefty. You're a righty. You're a this. You're a that. What you are is an American. What you are is an American. Right? And I always say this, it is not left versus right. It is top versus bottom, and you are on the bottom with the rest of us. So I don't care about how you wish we would be governed. I really don't care. Are you against evil? Are you against supremacist ideology? Are you not cool with kids being fucking blown up? Because if that's you, like, we're cool then. If you're against all that shit, like, cool. Cool. If you're not into, like, killing people and raping people and doing shit to fucking children, we're cool. And you're on the bottom. You're on the bottom with me and with everybody else. We're all on the fucking bottom. And, you know, and they're up there in a very small club that we are not a part of. And so I really loved that. And I had meant to pull this video up to, like, actually skip that part, but I'm actually glad we watched that because I think that's a very important message. It's just, like, so important. Becky, everyone just takes a wide berth from me because they hate my opinions. Y'all make me feel less crazy. You're so cool. I love that. Thank you. You're cool. Actually, you're cool for being here. So kudos to you, Becky. And trust me, some people like my friend Rory is in here and we've been friends for like 20 something years. He's known me through, he's literally like my first conspiracy buddy. He showed me Alex Jones in like 2006. And Mad World just subbed. Thanks, brother. And he's known me a long time, and he has seen me be called, you know, MAGA and Nazi and, you know, fucking lib and, you know, all this shit. Every time we get in a new political cycle, we ping pong back and forth. Oh, Trump got voted for, so now I'm going to be a liberal for the next 4 years. Oh, Biden was voted for, now I'm a fucking MAGA motherfucker just because I like call out bullshit. But whatever. I'm not going to get on a rant about that. But I think that discourse is important. I think remembering that we're all human, nobody's better than anybody, and we're all on the bottom together, fighting the same fucking evil that is trying to commodify our entire fucking existence. So, you know, if you do that kind of shit, though, man, you're on the same page as me, then we're cool.
Yeah. Love it.
So we had a hot question here. You familiar with Claude Anthropic? So before he came on, we had Claude, Anthropic's AI, scrape the internet and find one question that my audience would want to ask you most. This week alone, 11 American scientists are dead or missing, most tied to nuclear, aerospace, or UFO research. The FBI just confirmed Monday they're investigating. That probably doesn't mean anything. A retired.
I confirmed Tuesday that they're covering it up as we speak.
Oh, man. A retired Air Force general who commanded Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, the Roswell base, walked out of his house with a sidearm and vanished. Meanwhile, Trump's posting AI Jesus memes. Hegseth's quoting Pulp Fiction as scripture. The Epstein files are being withheld page by page. And the WEF just ranked disinformation the top global risk of 2026.
This is the most unserious timeline of all time. It really is. How do we get stuck in this multiverse version of the Earth? Fuck. It's all because they killed Harambe, and now we're here 10 years later in a myriad of fucking bullshit.
So here's the question. What's your honest take? What do you think is actually going on here, and how does the average American cut through all this noise and figure out?
Base 44 super agents. Careful, there's no going back.
Guys,
No setup.
next
Just say
time
hello.
I will make sure that I
What's
am
actually
on
real?
my account
Yeah.
so we never have ads again.
Let me give a specific and a broad answer. On the specifics, of course, there's no
What's going on? I got crazy.
way
good
I could
internet.
know or
What's
you
up?
could know what happened to those guys, right?
Mhm.
But the most important thing is don't trust the government or the mainstream media. Okay. So
Ding, 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 ding. Do not trust the government or mainstream media. Because we don't know what the truth is, but we certainly know where the lies are.
the phrase conspiracy theory is actually a conspiracy in and of itself. Okay, this is hilariously trippy. But once JFK got shot, from then on, they started using this phrase, conspiracy theory. It was meant to discredit anything that was not the official government narrative. Okay, so if you're outside the government narrative, ironically, the journalists, the media, who are supposed to challenge the government, right, will then, instead of challenging the government, enforce government propaganda. So they say, if you don't believe that JFK was shot by a magic bullet, conspiracy theory, okay? You're bad. Bow your head to the government. Wait a minute, I thought you guys were supposed to be reporters, right? So they now use the media to declare everything a conspiracy theory if it's not the official government position. So honestly, I didn't know that for a long, long time. I now know it. I figured it out through all of these current events, right? Because it became a pattern that was undeniable. So that is a way to shut down the conversation. Do not let them shut down the conversation, okay? So here, let's take a benign one that isn't that political, aliens, right? So they told us our whole life, conspiracy theory, right? Now, Obama has verified that there was aliens.
Did you guys see that? Went on a podcast and literally said that there are aliens.
Trump has then kind of accidentally verified it by saying,
Ironically, at the height of the Epstein files, the height of it when everybody was fucking pissed, that's when this shit came out.
all of a sudden,
Oh,
distraction.
and now
Yep. And if you guys follow Web at all, you probably seen this post that I did about 3 weeks ago, where my friend Ian Went, if you guys don't know him, follow him. He's awesome. Ian Went, Patriot Gear, really cool dude. He took this timeline that I had of all of the Epstein files releases and then overlaid a timeline of all of the military operations that had happened, like Venezuela and, going to Iran and all that. And so I took that and then made an official timeline that had both of those timelines over top of each other. And it presents a very interesting series of coincidences. I kind of want to do the same thing also with the alien disclosure talk, aliens.gov, Trump saying, "Oh, we're going to release the UFO files," and then he doesn't. But then they buy alien.gov, aliens.gov, both of those, and now we're talking about it again. Oh, we're going to release them. We're going to release them, and then there's all the dead scientists coming out. Why was this a fringe theory for 2 months? And now every news organization is talking about it. I'm talking about it because it's interesting. And if we're going to talk about it, we might as well have some truth around it. We might as well have a repository of information. That's why I created whokilledthescientist.com. You should go check that out, whokilledthescientist.com. There are no theories there. There is just verifiable information. All of the verifiable information I can gather every single day. I'm constantly putting more on there. Go check it out. Let's get back to the rest of this clip here.
Now all of a sudden you got congressmen and fucking senators. Oh yeah, aliens are breeding with human beings. Like it's not like.
But wait, you told me a minute ago that was a conspiracy theory, right?
I'm sorry, what the fuck? Did you just drop that aliens are breeding with fucking human beings just nonchalantly, like it's almost common knowledge? And then you don't give us anything else, like it's enough for the peons.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you.
Exactly.
Fuck you and your fucking distraction. And now we know that you're just sticking up for pedophiles once again.
So now, especially on the left, if you say that you're willing to question the official narratives, you get a world of pain. Okay. So for example, if I say, I don't believe the government on the Charlie Kirk shooting. Okay. I don't know what happened. I don't know who did it. I don't have the inside information, but it is very unlikely to be the story they told. A lot of people on the left, and certainly in mainstream media and the establishment, which the Democrats care way too much about, they'll be like, that's outrageous. Oh, you become a lunatic radical, right?
There's a lot of lunatics out there.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I don't care anymore. You can shove all those, accusations up your ass because I'm going to use my own judgment. I'm not going to blindly believe the government. That is not a left-wing position. The left wing is supposed to super aggressively challenge the government and those that are in power. By the way, same thing with the right wing. You're supposed to challenge big government, etc. So don't tell us to shut up and be quiet, okay? So
this whole clip is really great. Honestly, you should go check it out. I'm not going to make you guys watch the whole thing with me, and he's right. And this is what I was talking about earlier. It's like, we've been exposed to this shit so much over the last, I'd really say since 9/11. Just the PSYOP mechanism has gotten so dialed in, but now it's like way past its effectiveness because they've overused the PSYOP mechanism so much that now nobody trusts anything. Now we've just become so cynical that we literally don't trust anything. Now it's kind of getting out of hand where it'll be like, I catch myself doing this too. Something big happens, a story comes out right away, immediate, and I'm like, no, like that's definitely not what happened. And then I'm always just like, does it come back to Israel? Is it tie into Jeffrey Epstein? And then every time I look, it pretty much does. But, I want to have a more open mind. I do. Later on in this clip, he does talk about something interesting about how, there is one country out there that even recently have gloated about killing scientists, and that's Israel. There's a strong connection, and Diligent has been doing a lot of reporting on this. I've talked about this on X a bit. I want to do a little bit more research before I do an entire live stream about it, but I think that there's potentially a strong case for Jeffrey Epstein's connection to the Los Alamos corridor of this conspiracy. Excuse me. I'm still a little sick, so forgive me. But yeah, I mean, there's connect. I mean, Jeffrey Epstein's on record saying that he bought Zorro Ranch because of its proximity to scientists from Los Alamos, particularly the ones that have left Los Alamos and are going to some other city that was close by. I can't remember off the top of my head right now. I have a whole report that I'm working on and all this stuff. But I mean, there's some compelling evidence there that that Jeffrey Epstein in part owned Zorro Ranch because of its proximity to Los Alamos Lano National Lab. So the last piece I want to talk about. Before we get into this, they have done a really good job and no one is coming to save us. So when the AI overlords are projected in the sky, the Goidiots will be begging for a savior. Oh, that is a whole other rabbit hole. Some people out there are definitely trying to create a, let's call it an AI god religion. Silicon Valley. I'm sure Rory and I, that's Bod Link here in the comments. I'm sure we're gonna do some live streams about that. We both have very strong opinions about that. Anyway, to get back into the last piece here is, like I said earlier, I think some of these people really shouldn't be on this list, right? Why this list, right? Why are these people on this list? And why aren't these people on the list? And I think to understand anything, you kind of start to understand the beginning, right? And we'll just kind of speed run this. Go to the website under developments at the bottom here, how the story started. Because I'd been thinking about this a lot, right? Got to ask the question, why is mainstream media talking about this? Where did this come from, right? So MIT fusion physicist Nuno Loureiro, I know I'm mispronouncing that. He was killed. This actually is incorrect. It says killed in the Brown University mass shooting. He was killed by allegedly the Brown University shooter, who was a former classmate with him, and allegedly shot up Brown University in Rhode Island, went to Cambridge, Massachusetts, killed Nuno, went to New Hampshire, shot himself in a parking lot. That's the story. That was, though, the big story that kicked this whole thing off. Then Dark Journalist and House and Habit were kind of the first two content creators to start putting these things together. And that's what sort of kick-started this story, right? And then shortly after, Carl Grillmair was shot in his porch, just north of Los Angeles, not far from me, actually, about maybe 2 hours away from me, if that. And then Jessica Reed Krause, which is House and Habit, did a Substack piece connecting the Loureiro, Nuno, and Grillmair deaths. And then Neil McCasland, a week later, goes missing. And so in the first part of this year, there were a number of incidences that happened. And then saying, okay, well, there's something here. Now, is there something here? And so then people started looking into the past, 2024, 2023, right? So that's, we'll go to timeline, right? So we're sorry, so we're talking about here is where all of where the story kind of starts, right? Is actually right in here in 2026, right? And then they start looking back. Who are these different people that died in 2025, 2024, right? 2023, 2022, Amy Eskridge. I've known about Amy Eskridge for a year, maybe year and a half was the first time I'd heard about her story. And I thought it was very interesting. Before they named her as the 11th scientist, I had thought, wow, I think she kind of fits into this, right? And then they said, boom. And so then I started thinking, who else out there is there, right? It felt like for like a week there, it felt like every other day there was a new person being added to the list. It's 9, 10, 11, 14, right? Like, and now it's like maybe 16 people or something. And you go to the website. Part of what I'm doing here is putting information here in various different ways so that you can look at it from every different angle, right? So here we identify who these people are that are in the conversation, the official conversation. There's the links to all of my stuff. If you want to get in, shameless self plug, please follow me on everything because we're going to do more. I added this map because I think, well, the location of people is actually important too. So now you can kind of get into the map and you can kind of look at all different stuff, right? Who are they? Where are these different clusters? Huntsville, New Mexico, JPL Caltech, right? And then also, and I guess I got to add to this, like Ohio area, because that is another, the Air Force Base and the different people that were, involved there. But anyway, there's a map there. This is a snapshot of developments. Obviously, we have a full developments page, critical connections to different people here. So you can kind of see it in this kind of chart and sort of, graded by the weight of the connections. Who are the different organizations and institutions and, different, programs, things of that nature. And then right here, a connections node map, a mind map, right? And this mind map kind of tells me something. Looking around, and it's like, how is Jason Thomas connected? He's not connected to anything, right? That's a very recent one. This is the person that they found in, I believe, Massachusetts in a lake in his Tesla. That was Jason Thomas, right? Yeah. So Novartis cancer researcher, body found in Massachusetts lake, March 2026. No foul play suspected. And he was missing for a few months. It's a strange scientist death. Yeah, I'll give it that. I think it kind of stops there. I don't see enough connection there to say that if this were conspiracy, as it were, I don't think he fits into it, right? All these other people, everyone here, absolutely connected. All these people, they're all connected to each other. These people, these other three, super connected to each other, right? Even David Wilcox, who was not a scientist, not a researcher, not in the military, didn't work for NASA or Wright Patterson. He didn't work for any of those things. He was, an Ancient Aliens guy and a live streamer. But a day or two before he died, his publisher died. Very weird circumstances. And then he kills himself mere hours after live streaming a 3-hour live stream talking about the dead scientists, how it's very interesting and very weird, and going to great lengths to tell people I would never kill myself. If there's ever anything that said that I did, it was not me. And literally live streamed this hours before he died, right? Just days after his publisher. So, is he a part of the conspiracy? Probably, but I would say more likely it's like a suppression, type of thing. Maybe he knew something. Yeah, Apple Juice must have gotten some good info, potentially, right? I guess it's a good time to say that I would never kill myself. I love myself. I love my life. I love my girlfriend, my dog, my cat, our plants. I'm very happy. And so I don't think I'm in any danger, though. That's right, Mad World. Questions need to be asked. You're absolutely right. Another question that I have is these two. James Moffat was flying a plane with I think his whole immediate family, like all his children, his wife, and everything. And his son was a research engineer and scientist. They both died together. This was maybe 2 weeks ago, less even. Maybe, I think there's, I don't know if this is a strong case. I mean, it says here that they had passed the whole family. So it was his mother and his brother and his father who was flying the plane. And their plane crashed during a refueling stop en route to Huntsville, Alabama, the rocket capital of the world, where Amy Eskridge had a company that did anti-gravity that's super tied into this story. So maybe, I don't know. I'm on the fence about these ones. I feel very strongly that Jason Thomas is not a part of this. And I have questions about these guys. And I think that David Wilcox doesn't fit into this in a traditional sense. But I think there's people that they are missing, nobody's talking about. And when you look into them, they kind of seem pretty damn important. Like General Neil McCaslin level of importance. Like Monica Reza's level of importance. Okay? And when you look at that, you say, why are they not on the list? Right? So what I did was I built a research bot, essentially, right? As you guys know, in our companies and things, we leverage AI tools, but we found a way to make AI give you factual information where it just cannot hallucinate. That's kind of like Webb's whole thing, right? Webb does not hallucinate because it has to back up any claim with a verified source. Like, cite the source, give me the document, show it to me, right? So sort of the same thing with my research bot that I built for my own internal use, which I use to gather a lot of this information. Again, it can't just make things up. Everything has to be backed by like sourced documents, reporting, whatever. And then everything in here reflects whether it's, first, like firsthand reporting, things of that nature. KJ says web is amazing. Thank you. That was a huge project. If I'm being honest, I was so deep in Buyer in our grocery app. I wanted us to delay the development of it so that we could really have a strong opening with Buyer. Ian and the others, they strongly felt like we needed to put this out. We needed to put it out now. And I got to say, I was wrong. They were totally right. We needed this. We need this so badly right now. And it was just like right before, the Epstein files were coming out, and we just were like, okay, we got to do this. And we finished out that product that was kind of being worked on the side for a couple of months. So anyway, and this, by the way, this website, this is not our team necessarily. I mean, this isn't like a monetary thing. Like, I don't make anything off this website. This is just me putting this out here, as me, but I'm using these same tools, right? And I'm building these same tools. So I went to my research bot and I said, listen, here, like, analyze all of these cases, look at this story, read every article you can about it, look at these different deaths and disappearances, look at these connections, and find me other potential candidates that the news is missing. Excuse me. And then let's rank them in order of how likely they are to being a part of this conspiracy. Mad World, I use Buyer every day. You're a fucking legend. Thank you. Buyer's a free app, by the way. If you don't know about it, you can scan, your groceries. You scan products at the store, and you can know who's actually producing it, putting it out. So you're actually supporting who you want to support in the world, and maybe take the money out of the global elites' hands if that's what you want to do. Anyway, get back to, the candidates page. I think there are other people here with a strong case for being involved in this. This man, Charles F. McMillan, the 10th director of the Los Alamos National Laboratory, a nuclear physicist, Nuclear Security Enterprise Integration Council. He died in September of 2024, right in the middle of all of these actual deaths, right? A big misconception is people think that these deaths all happened in the last couple of months. As I said before, some of them date back to 2012, and I actually think there's a strong case for one that happened in 2014. You will see that this person is deceased and not on any list. I tried looking it up. I've not found a single article, a single tweet about these people in relation to this. Okay? I've never seen it. He's a former director of the same lab where Chavez and Casillas would later vanish. 23 years at Lawrence Livermore, 18 years at Lanell, including 6 as director overseeing the U.S. nuclear deterrent program, was still actively consulting for Lanell and serving on Sandia Labs review committees when he was killed. He was killed at 5:16 a.m. on the road leading directly into Lanell. And so once we look at these other people that I think are involved and some of the other deaths. And just some other incidents that have happened that may not be related to this conspiracy. But there's essentially the Los Alamos National Lab. There's basically one road in and one road out. And everybody takes it to get into work. And a lot of people have died in very weird ways on that road. Some of them being scientists working on these different programs. The driver who killed him said she did not remember what caused her to cross into the center line. No cause was ever established. The DA found insufficient evidence for vehicular homicide, convicted of 3 petty misdemeanors only. He died exactly 9 months before Chavez vanished from the same area. He was still consulting at Lanel and sitting on Sandia Labs review committees at the time of his death. He was elected to lead the Nuclear Security Enterprise Integration Council, oversight over all nuclear weapons institutions. His death was one of 2 fatal Lanel employee crashes within 7 months on the same road. Now, nuclear weapons aren't anti-gravity or potential alien technology that we're reverse engineering, right? But our president literally threatened nuclear war weeks ago. And before that happened, there were a few mysterious deaths around the people who literally work in our nuclear, like at the top, highest level in our nuclear program. And this person not only worked on the nuclear program and had one of the highest positions in the nuclear program, he also worked at Lanel, the Los Alamos, I live in Los Angeles, the Los Alamos National Lab. It's at least a little suspicious. There's Dr. Philip William Leonard, also deceased, also not on any list. He was a high explosive synthesis chemist at Lanel, PhD in organic chemistry at UC Berkeley, 48 published papers. A high explosive synthesis chemist at Lanel since 2009, meaning he designed and synthesized the explosive components used in nuclear weapon triggers. Postdoc at Lawrence Livermore before Lanel, and Charles McMillan also worked with Lawrence Livermore. He had a toddler and a pregnant wife, died in a multi-vehicle crash on the same road as McMillan 7 months later. So again, he worked on the nuclear weapons. The crash investigation, police were awaiting crash team report and medical records. No cause determination ever publicly released. Isn't that convenient? He died exactly 2 years to the day before McCaslin vanished. He died February 27th of 2024. McCaslin died February 27th of 2026. Okay. These guys worked at Lanel. They died in mysterious ways on a street. They worked in a nuclear program. I mean, come on. I think it's pretty strong that they're part of this. Or maybe it's a completely separate thing. I just wonder how our president, for the first time since the Cold War, a president made any threat of nuclear war. How did he feel comfortable enough to do that? If it weren't for key people in the nuclear program no longer being alive. This man oversaw everything nuclear. Was quite literally one of the highest people in our nuclear defense. And it is a guy who built nuclear weapons, or parts, the triggers of nuclear weapons. Died. I think Bill Denninger has a potential. He worked for JPL, which is NASA Jet Propulsion Lab. He was a plasma physicist who spent 7 years with the JPL before moving through Italian Aerospace as a defense contractor and ultimately BAE Systems, maker of electronic warfare and directed energy systems. Directed energy is like a whole other fucking rabbit hole that we could go in on another stream. I'm sure Rory and I will talk about that because he and I talk about that stuff sometimes. Okay, he died the same month that Monica Reza, who worked on Mond Alloy. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Is it Mond Alloy or Mond Alloy? I'm not sure, but the alloy that allows us to travel to space. Kevin, thoughts on flight MH30? Man, I have no idea, but it's fucking fishy. I probably should do a whole live stream about it, really get into the deep and the dirty in that someday. But man, that is another one that is, I don't know, but I know that what they're saying ain't it. So anyway, I think Bill Denninger, there's a case, right? But I really wanted to talk about Charles McMillan, Philip Leonard, and this woman, Dallas Ann Hardwick, who I think is the other third top person that we should be looking at. Excuse me. So Dallas Ann Hardwick was the co-inventor of Mond Alloy. She was AFRL Materials Directorate at Wright-Patterson. She led all AFRL gas turbine materials research. Okay. And she had an honors for metallurgy at UNSW. She invented or co-invented Mond Alloy, the nickel superalloy that freed U.S. satellite launches from Russian RD-180 dependency, with Monica Reza at Rockwell Science Center, moved to AFRL's Material Directorate at Wright-Patterson, the same base that McCaslin commanded. By 2005, she was leading all materials research for advanced gas turbine engines. She received the Meritorious Civilian Service Medal in 2010 and was the first woman to receive the TMS Structural Materials Division Distinguished Service Award. All of this shit in the government and the science are fucking tongue twisters. Good Lord. No wonder everything is like acronyms. She retired in 2012 after a cancer diagnosis. She died in January 2014. And like a lot of these scientists, the AFRL, or in some cases, like all the Jet Propulsion Lab, which is NASA, and NASA, didn't publish a memorial for any, which is a common thing to do. Or to at least like give some sort of comment, right? When these people die for their obituaries, things of that nature. And so we'll go into this in another live stream, but the Mond alloy is a really big thing in this conspiracy, right? And she invented it. She was a metallurgist. There's not a lot of those, right? She worked at Wright Patterson. And she was a badass. And I think that Dallas Ann Hardwick, Charles McMillan, those two particularly, big names that we should be watching. I think I should be putting them on the homepage, but I keep the homepage to the scientists and, everybody that's, on this, whatever you want to consider the official list. I would rewrite the list, but that's not for me to do. I'm certainly no arbiter of truth. I think that there's more capable people out there. I hope that more capable people see this website, because I just wanted to make a place, a singular resource where you can find everything. And then when updates happen, I'm updating it a couple times a day, right? Check the developments. These are the news stories that are around what's happening. Check the timelines. Forgive me as I'm still sick. KJ, keep going, Kevin. Thank you. I will. I'm actually going to wrap this up, but for today. But more live streams will be happening for sure, and I will not always be talking about these missing and dead scientists. I certainly don't want to become like the missing and dead scientist guy, right? But we'll be definitely talking about more stuff. But I think that this is such an interesting story that's kind of so new and it's so broad. It potentially could implicate a lot of big things that both have like one foot in like our government and military, and in another foot like in like weird alien shit, which I love. Even if aliens is a complete psyop, I want to understand it. But yeah, this is the website. I'm really proud of it. Because this is also kind of like how my brain is. I'm not a linear thinker, right? I think very like in weird ways, and like I'll look at the same thing like three different ways. Because I'm super duper fucking ADD, like the most ADD neurospicy motherfucker out there. So, yeah. Apple juice. I saw an alien before when I was young. Brother saw it too. Never talked about it to each other until a few years ago. Listen, man, I believe you. I believe you. Now, I will say this. I don't know what you saw. Was it an alien? Was it, our craft? Like from our country, other countries? I mean, it's really so hard to say. I can say definitively I've seen some shit that I don't fucking know what the fuck it was. But it didn't look like some shit I've ever seen before. Now, I live in a very interesting place. I mean, I don't want to dox myself really, but I live in Southern California. And I live right on the ocean, right? If I come out my door here, I'm looking out into the ocean. And very close by to me is the new Space Force base. Used to be an Air Force base with no airport, no runway, no nothing. Massive Air Force base that got converted to the Space Force base. I live in an area with a lot of interesting parks that are built on top of old military bunkers, systems. Who really knows what this is? People in town, have different sort of, ideas of what it was. And when I look out into the ocean, I can see Catalina. And living by the ocean sounds like a dream. It is, but it's also really windy here all the time, even in the summer, which kind of sucks, to be honest. Even when it's like a nice, hot, sunny day and you want to lay out, it's like a little too breezy a lot of the time. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to complain. It's beautiful to look out in the ocean. But where I live specifically, there are books written about UFO, UAP sightings here, and particularly around Catalina Island. There's a book that somebody wrote about underwater UAPs that they see come out of the water and into the water around Catalina Island. I'm not going to say I've ever seen anything like that, but I've seen like weird lights that sort of move in weird ways out there at night. I did one time see something that like looked really weird. It didn't look like a craft. It just looked like, and it was like in broad daylight in the middle of the day. It just looked like almost like a chemtrail, but like just a section of a chemtrail. And it was like this, like, so it was like, so picture like my finger, right? It was like this like line, right? And it was like a little like angle like this. And then it was just floating out, floating out, floating out until it like went on the other side of like this hill that I was at. I took pictures of it and shit too. I'll pull those up someday. It was a few years ago. No idea what it was. I could say definitively it is a UAP, an unidentified aerial phenomenon. Phenomenon? Did I say it right? Phenomenon? I got no fucking clue if I've ever seen fucking aliens. Are they aliens? Are they future versions of us? Time travelers? It was actually funny watching Ian's live stream last night, if any of you saw it, and he was talking about time traveling. And he and I have never actually talked about it. I'm sure he and I could have some very interesting conversations about that. And as I said before, I actually want this to be more, I'm not here to, bitch about the government and all that. I do enough of that on social media, and we could totally bitch about the government from time to time, but that's not really what I'm here for. I want to just like talk about fun conspiracies, fun stuff, interesting stuff that we can't prove, so that way nobody's like, "Ooh, where's your sources? Where's the truth?" And it's not about like, I would love for us to find truth, but it's not really about that. Like, let's just talk about these fun conspiracies, right? Like this one is a little bit, like I said, closer to, government weird shit, psyop type stuff, which also fits. So I'm like, let's talk about it. Do I have any illusion that like we're gonna like, figure this out because I'm live streaming about it? Like, no. I do hope that the website can be like a resource to people who, who will figure that out. But yeah, aliens are fun. Aliens are fun. I mean, who knows? Who knows? What I do know is that we are, for sure, disclosure, all of that. I don't trust none of it. None of it. Lou Elizondo, fucking dude from Blink 182. I mean, who can you trust, right? I don't know who you can trust, but I'm pretty sure you can't fully trust people who work for the government or worked for the government at a very high level in intelligence in the Pentagon and are all of a sudden coming out to tell you all about it. Pitsy, are you looking for the website? Because that is whokilledthescientists.com. Again, that is whokilledthescientists.com. Just like it says up here, without the question mark and no spaces. Whokilledthescientists.com. Let's hear your thoughts on aliens. I mean, if you want to, I mean, so I kind of talked about it. I mean, I really don't know. I actually think in recent years, I have leaned more towards aliens actually being like future humans. That's what I think. I actually think it's more likely that they are some version of a future human. Ian said a really great thing last night. Like I said, he said something along the lines of he believes that time travel exists because if time travel has ever existed in any time, then time travel exists for all times. And that is something that I think about as well. I mean, aliens could also be, they could be humans from alternate realities, right? If you buy into the multiverse theory. Oh, Bodlink, that's my best friend Rory. He said, y'all remember the Peru alien attacks. And Rory and he just brought me up to date on his new theory around that. And I actually sent him a microphone because I was like, bro, we need to talk about this. We are going to do a live stream about these Peru alien attacks. It is his theory. I've not seen anything like it. It's fucking wild. But yeah, I think aliens, are more than likely time traveling humans. I think that to me would make the most sense. But I don't know. I mean, I think everything sounds just as plausible and unplausible. I don't know which the negative version of plausible would be. I think they're equally like could be, couldn't be. I don't fucking know. We can talk about it all day long though, because there's tons of stuff. Like I also think, like we talk a lot about aliens and stuff, right? But there's one thing that I always think about is that we live on a planet that we barely understand. I mean, by all estimates, we maybe understand 10% of ocean life. So we got aliens on this fucking planet, dog. There are depths to the sea that we cannot go to, that we cannot research. So before we even get ahead of ourselves on our aliens future humans or our aliens from other planets, like let's look at like our own backyard and how little we fucking understand about that. Let's look at human evolution, how much we understand about that. Let's look at the human brain and how much we understand about that. Let's look at AI technology that we're growing, because AI is grown. It is not programmed, it is not built, it is grown. And how little we understand about that. Before we even really get into the conversation about aliens. Because there is so much that we don't understand. How much of the earth do we understand? Say, I mean, we can't even say how the pyramids were built, which could have been 4,000 years ago, 8,000 years ago, 12,000 years ago, 20,000 years ago. How much do we know before the Younger Dryas? Did giants exist? Are humans the byproduct of Anunnaki gold aliens that came to the world, came to the earth and migrated with other hominids to create humans? I don't fucking know. And that's what I love about it, is that I don't know, and we can't actually know. Because the Library of Alexandria was burned to the fucking ground. And once you start thinking about that, you start to really understand how in the dark we actually are about everything. So for me, it's all just fun. It's all possible. Everything's possible because we barely understand what's possible. We barely understand. We like to think we understand reality. Doug, we don't even understand what consciousness is. We don't. We sit here and we think we're like oppressing ourselves as a species. But who even fucking understands? I mean, and this is what my brain feels like when I take LSD. Welcome to my brain on LSD. All right, before I close this out, I want to talk. I want to read some of these comments here. But Rory talking about Peru. People are into. I mean, fuck. Are we in a simulation, man? I don't know. Like, does AI already exist? Right. Go look at Donald Hoffman and his work, where he can use evolutionary game theory to pretty much prove that we are souls, or we are observers from another plane, and our bodies are no different than a computer that just shows us the information that we need. So, like, if that's the truth, aliens and all this other shit doesn't even fucking matter. So who knows? I'd love to know. We'll probably never know. But I kind of like that we're just stupid enough to never know. And it's just a fun exercise to see if we can get intelligent enough to figure it out. Mad World says, we know more about outer space than we do the depths of our own ocean. That's the key. Exactly. I've been saying this for a long time. Thank you, Kevin. Love your energy. It's all about the energy. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I really appreciate you all hopping in and listening to me pontificate on some weird shit here at the end. That's a nice plant he's got there. I'll have to get back to you on that. My girlfriend is the big plant person, and the lighting might be, but it's like it's green and like pink. It's cool as shit. And I liked it so much. She went out, she showed me that plant. She said, "You would really like that." And I sent her the money. I was like, "Buy me that. Put it on my desk." But I have about another 150 plants here. Like I got another like 60 plants in this room or something. It's insane. It's a jungle in here. That is not a pothos, but I have probably, I don't know, a dozen different type of pothos here in this, maybe I can give you guys a little, let's see here. We've got, and that's just some of our plants here. We have a lot of plants in my house. He's got a motherfucking garden there. Yeah, it's my girl. She caught the bug in August, and we went from like 5 plants to like, no, we probably got 150 plants here outside my other room. It's nuts. Yeah, she got a green thumb. You're right, KJ. Mad World, this is an amazing channel. Can't wait to see more. Thank you. Tell your friends. If you're into this type of stuff, I'm here. I'm here to talk about this, all sorts of weird shit. And, from time to time we might bitch about the government. It's like they're fucking with us, man. They're fucking with us. And the noticing is happening, and more people are noticing, and it's a wave of noticing, and it's our job to keep noticing and getting more people to notice as well. And so with that, I want to thank you all for joining in. I think we had maybe like a dozen people on Twitch, and a little more than that right now here on YouTube. Talking here for 2 hours. It's the longest live stream I've done on this channel. And just like I didn't start really posting on these channels until last week, right? You'll see on my YouTube channel, I have a couple of YouTube videos from like 2 years ago. I initially wanted to make my channel about marketing. Like I was gonna, so like first couple of videos, like you'll see is like, cause I'm a marketing guy. And I come from the cannabis industry. So I was talking about like cannabis marketing and things of that nature, and political marketing and stuff. And I just sort of never really loved that idea. And I actually, like I'm close to Ian, and I've worked with him on his channel and stuff, and learned a lot. And I'm gonna definitely bring a lot of what I've learned here. But again, I don't want people to get the impression that I'm trying to do like what Ian does. Ian already does that, and he does it for millions of people, and I couldn't do it better than him. But I would like to do more kind of stuff around the types of topics that like the Y Files does, or Oompaville. If you've watched any of those guys on YouTube, they're like two of my favorite YouTubers. And they do the type of topics that I would love to talk about. You know, like I'd like to do a video on like, Operation Northwoods, like that kind of stuff. Aliens. Like let's talk about all this weird stuff, right? Um, this isn't a serious place, right? And I certainly um I don't want to do anybody's thinking for them either. And I'm getting the impression that you guys are not looking to have your thinking done for you. But for a lot of people, like they'll look to like somebody like Ian to get their, get an impression of what they're thinking about something before they formulate their own opinion. Formulate your own opinions. I do not want to be the destination for how you formulate your opinion. I would love to be a stop you make along the way. Right? Let my perspective be one of many that you come across before you start formulating your own opinions. And then I want you to never, ever, ever get too caught up in what you think your opinions are. Allow yourself the space to change them. Because that's what I do. You'll see me live stream about something. I could come back here in a month and say, guys, I was completely wrong about everything about these scientists. But we won't know until we talk about it, we look into it, we look at the data, we look at the information, we talk about it with each other. You talk about it with other people. You get other perspectives. You think about it. You come back to the community and we talk about it some more. That's how we find the truth of things. Or an approximation of the truth. So I'm warning you now, don't ever look to me to do your thinking for you. I ain't going to do it. I will only offer my perspective on things, how I see things. And if that contributes how you think about something, that's all I could ever hope for. I do not ever want to be the person that does your thinking for you. Meg Strad, we have souls. Yes. Yes, you do. Kevin, what we are all looking for is a platform where we can bounce ideas back and forth so we can actually decide on what to believe. And that's You're My People. Love and Compassion 1, you're my people. To all my friends who are in here, you're my people. And I'm really super grateful that you're here and you took time out of your Saturday to watch me ramble about some stuff. So if you can, like it, share it, tell your friends, hit the bell, come back. I'm going to try and do this a few times a week, honestly. And then I do want to get into when I have the bandwidth and things kind of settle out a little bit more with both web and buyer. I want to like once a month do like really actually produced videos on real topics, documentary style or whatever. I want to get into doing more of that as well. But I really love live streaming. I love the interaction. I love that I can take a second. I can take all the time in the world to pontificate on an idea. If I wanted to sit here for 4 hours, I could, if you found it interesting. I mean, I'll just sit here and talk to myself if I got to. I do it all day anyway. But I like that I can talk to you and take a second and say, I'm going to talk to people. Dude, where have you been, bro? here's the truth. The truth is that I've always wanted to do this. I've always had the skills to do this. I did radio back in the day. Um, I've I've always been very outgoing, chatty, opinionated, and into all this type of stuff for many years. Um, I had done things that in my life that I didn't want to bring unwanted attention to myself. Um, and I'll kind of just leave it at that. And so I spent many years not putting myself out there and doing this type of stuff, even though I'd always wanted to. And then when I got out of that and I just like went and had legitimate businesses and stuff, and then I would be like, it's just so super busy. And, even like I wanted to start doing this stuff back in September, October. But I was, building Buyer and doing all that stuff. And then I was for 6-7 months working with Ian directly and helping him build his platform. And I just took the time to learn and all that. And I bought all the gear. I bought all this gear in like, I don't know, September, October. I was ready to start my YouTube stuff, start live streaming, start doing all this stuff. It wasn't until, honestly, this story. And I said, you know what? I have these skills, but I have these tools that I'm building, and I'm really into building these like AI tools and stuff. And I said, I think I got something to actually contribute here. So that's what I'm doing, is I'm here to contribute. And now that I've started, I really like it and it's fun. And now this is part of what I'm going to do. So I have big plans to do this regularly and to talk about all sorts of weird stuff. And not just talk about what's in vogue or whatever. Like, when the next Charlie Kirk happens, which most certainly will happen, I don't plan on spending 4 months, like, going into every little nook and cranny of the whole thing. Like, that really doesn't excite me. I actually am not doing this for clicks and views. It'd be nice to have. No, that's not really what I'm here to do. I'm just here to have some fun, hang out with you guys, meet new people, and bring out new perspectives. So with that, thank you. I hope you guys have an incredible rest of your weekend. I hope you're with people that you love, and I hope you do things that you love. And even if you're not, I hope you're working towards doing the things that you love. Just like I had been doing. I knew that I was going to love this, and I worked for months to get into a position that I could, and now I'm doing it, and now I'm going to see where this is going. And I implore you to do the same. If you aren't doing exactly what you want in life, please, set yourself up so that you can, because happiness and truth and love, those are the only things that really matter in this world. So with that, thank you. I love you. I hope you stick around. I hope you come back and, link up with me on social media, like on the website, on whokilledthescientist.com. I put all my social links on there. I don't really have any grand aspirations to having millions of followers or anything like that, but I want to connect with cool people and share cool stuff. And, and so if you do the social media thing, come on over and join me on some social media. Tell me you were in the live stream, say what's up. And there's so few of you now that I'll recognize you guys. So thank you all. Have a great night. Have a great weekend. I'm going to be live streaming with Real Bays either Tuesday or Wednesday on YouTube and Twitch. I believe we're going to do a collab stream, and we're going to talk more about this stuff and, probably more of the government and stuff and Charlie Kirk and all that. Yeah. Have a great time. Be well. And thank you.